welcome back to the Toffee Blues YouTube channel, your source for all things Everton. My name's Thomas and welcome back to probably the most turbulent time the football's probably seen in quite a while. The past 48 hours have been absolute carnage and a big money-grabbing exercise by some other clubs in the Premier League. And we're going to obviously have to discuss one of them today because when it's all said and done, we still have games of football to play, points to win. And we don't know what that's potentially going to mean next season. We don't really know where we're going to find ourselves. But at the moment, we are still in one of the worst European pushes possibly ever seen, us versus Spurs. We've had a pretty tricky run of form there. 3 draws in a row now. Should have beaten Spurs, should have beaten Palace. Brighton was a difficult result, but we now move on to Arsenal, of course, one of the 6 sides. But we're going to try and focus more on the game today than anything else. But Terry, I mean, what are your initial thoughts going into this?
Everton versus the North London Cannons, isn't it? Like, I don't know, it's hard to G yourself up for any game at the minute, isn't it? When basically a lot of clubs are trying to make it so they don't mean anything. You could beat them 10-0 or lose 10-0, won't really make that much of a difference because they'll be guaranteed Europe anyway. But as things, until such a time as it's over, let's just carry on as if it's going to be as normal. So, needs to win. We're going to have any chance to finishing in Europe, whatever Europe looks like at the end of the season. Need to start winning games. We've had 3 draws, and all 3 of them we should have won. That's not even mentioning the Burnley game, which we lost and got tonked. But yeah, Arsenal, for a European elite team, they're crap. And I want us to show that. I want this to be another result for one of these teams where they lose, just to make more of a mockery of what they're trying to do off the pitch.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be one that I'd hope the players are more up for in general. Obviously, coming up against these sides, we saw Leeds versus Liverpool last night, of course, drawing in the last minute. You know, we want to see our players put up a fight in results against this, and we've seen the club put up a fight as well today. Probably the strongest worded statement you're going to see by any club, which is obviously absolutely brilliant. But as I said, we do have to focus on the game. It just is an odd one, and it's probably a weird one to motivate yourself for as a player, purely because you've actually got no idea what this means. I mean, I think Dean Smith spoke very well today, talking about how in the space of 11 years, Villa went from from a 3rd division side to, winning the title. And if things go ahead as planned, it's not even going to be possible. And we found ourselves in a very strange position now. To be fair, through a lot of fault of our own as well, coming into this in a European fight, if we forget what they're talking about. Just a quick look at the table. 7th place, Tottenham on 50 points. We're just behind with a game in hand on 49, and Arsenal just behind us on 46. So, of course, if they do win this game, somehow they are going to go above us, no matter what it means. So, I mean, Terry, how do you think the players motivate themselves for a game like this? And do you think it's any different to usual?
No, I don't think the motivation's a problem. I think the off-the-field stuff is a massive distraction. But, it's only just happened. So I don't think it's going to get, if this league was to come in and be, cemented in and there's no stopping it, then you'd probably see motivation going down and, no one's trying as much and stuff like that. But at the minute, it's only a few days old, this current idea. So the players should hopefully go into this game and just go, right, we need to win this game. Arsenal are not the Arsenal of yesteryear, regardless of what their marketing says. They're not a very good team. They've been worse than us all season, including our, various runs of poor results, which we're on another one now. We should be beating this Arsenal. There's no, other than Aubameyang, there's not many players I would take in our team of theirs because they're not very good. I know we've not been very good of late, but you know what I mean? Like, they're below us in the table. We need to win this game, put ourselves above Tottenham, put a big gap between us and Arsenal, and then take it from there. Should get some players back, hopefully. Calvert-Lewin will be a massive one. We've not got the luxury anymore of drawing, key games, or certainly not losing key games. We need to start winning now. Because the wins are so crucial against these teams that are around you, especially with games running out. Because if you beat these teams, they haven't got enough games to correct the mistake at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. And Arsenal in a very indifferent run of form themselves. I think they rescued a last-minute point against Fulham, beat Sheffield United as you might expect. Lost to Liverpool, drew with West Ham. They did beat Tottenham, so it's a pretty weird one. But of course, we are in in a pretty poor run of form, and it feels like, we've been doing these match previews together for a few weeks in a row now, and every match we're talking about must win, even though we know that we're still in with a fight, even if we don't win. But looking at the last five games, we've got 3 points at the end of the day, and Arsenal find themselves on 8, still not brilliant, but they are doing better than us. And I think it would be an embarrassment if, we'd still have the game in hand against Aston Villa, but after this season, if they do go above us in this game, it's absolutely ridiculous. I feel like we've been the much better side of them all season. Of course, we got a good result earlier on in the year, and it would be a very strange one to see them go above us now. But that's the position we put ourselves in because of the run of form we're on, not beating the likes of Brighton, not beating the likes of Palace, and we should have beaten Spurs as well. But we made crucial mistakes, and when you make crucial mistakes in front of Harry Kane, it's kind of inevitable. But I mean, you touch on there. You really don't rate Arsenal. So where do you think we can really take advantage of their weaknesses today? What are their main problems?
Defence. They can't defend. Now, on the strength of the Tottenham game, we can't defend either. But the strength of the whole season, you'd say we're a much better defensive outfit than Arsenal are, and we need to make that count. We need to, for me, go back to a back four. I hate the back three. I don't think it works. It doesn't suit most of the players. Not all of them. Some of, I think Holgate suits it, obviously, but Keane doesn't suit it. I don't even think Godfrey suits it, even though he's made a better goal with than the other two last game. Go back to a back four. Give James that roll off the right, or a free roll in the 10. Behind two strikers if we've got two to play, and just be solid, because Arsenal will give you chances. They're not very good in possession around their back four. They were highlighted by Gary Neville a few weeks ago of being a very lazy team. They don't want to press the ball. They don't want to win things back, except for one or two players, Emile Smith-Rowe and Bukayo Saka. They are like that, but everyone else not so much in their team. So you can be solid defensively. I know everyone's sick and tired of hearing that, but you can be solid defensively. You'll get chances against them. We've got to take them this time. We can't keep missing them.
Yeah, I agree. It hasn't really been a holy combination the past few weeks. We haven't really been taking chances, and nor we've been particularly defensively solid. Obviously, Keane made that mistake against Palace. Who knows what even happened for the second Spurs goal? There was just a massive mix-up. So it is a tricky one. Arsenal, as you mentioned, that they are quite a lazy side, and they've been widely criticised by basically everyone at some point this season. And we have to take advantage of it, as I mentioned before. And I agree, defensively is probably where their vulnerabilities are. But as you said before, Aubameyang's still a good player. He hasn't had a brilliant season. I think Gary Neville Jamie Carragher likened him to Mesut Ozil towards his end of time at Arsenal. So we'll have to see how that goes. But in terms of attitude and in terms of that laziness that they talk about, I think Aubameyang's pretty much defined that this season, got that big contract and hasn't really performed at the high standards. But something I do envy of Arsenal is their promotion of youth at the moment. I mean, we've seen Bukayo Saka, as he said. He's just been an absolute standout for them, and a player that I'm always concerned about coming up against. And Emile Smith-Rowe as well, taking a very odd path. I remember him being at Huddersfield, then he went out to Germany. I'm not sure whether he was with Leipzig and didn't do particularly well there, but it's been a strange one. But I agree, they are two of the most important players that we have to shut down. And if they're not on the game, then, as you mentioned, we have to be taking our chances. So, as you mentioned, a couple of defensive changes there. So what is the kind of lineup you go for? Because we've seen different combinations of defenders. We've seen Godfrey play on the left, Godfrey play on the right, Holgate play on the right. I mean, it's been a strange season for chopping and changing the defence. But what is the, as you mentioned, what is the back four you'd go for in this game?
Well, the team I'd probably pick Pickford, Coleman and Dean at full back. Probably go for Godfrey and Keane as the centre-backs. I wouldn't be upset one bit if Keane got dropped after that last game in for Mina, but not seen Mina and Godfrey as a partnership, so I'm not just going to sit here and say put them together, because I don't know if that worked. But I know that Keane and Godfrey as a partnership is much better than a back three. Play Allen, Davies, don't know, is Andre Gomez back, maybe? Yeah, Andre Gomez, and then play a front three of James. No, tell a lie. I'd have Allen, Davies and Sigurdsson, and I'd play a front three of James, Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison. Yeah, and just let Sigurdsson and James work some combinations again together. Sigurdsson, after the last game, deserves to be that man in midfield. Obviously, I think Allen and Davies picked themselves with all the injuries we've got. Sigurdsson, if you play him in a 10 with James on the right, or if you play him a little bit deeper with James at 10, or whichever. I think the two of them after the last game need to start again.
Yeah, definitely, and I think it's the first time we've seen that link up to quite well, because and it was mentioned quite widely on Twitter as well. People's talking about the pace and the side is when you do play Sigurdsson and James in that combination, you need your two engines in midfield to be on the ball, and Davies and Allen have been a pretty solid combination. Of course, we've seen Davies come in that kind of Allen role when he has been injured, but seeing them play alongside each other, it was a pretty solid partnership. And if those two are on their game, it's kind of essential to make that Sigurdsson and Rodriguez link up work. And I completely agree with that side as well. I think we just need to put up a good run of form here and a bit of consistency as well. I mean, as I mentioned, we've seen the back four chop and change a lot, and we really need a good combination coming in towards the end of the season. And it's kind of the question that we ask every single week. Okay, where do we find ourselves if we don't win this game? I mean, we said this against Palace and Brighton, golden opportunities to get all 6 points, and we didn't. We then looked at Spurs. That was a result that we should have got in the end, but I mean, defensive errors cost us. So it's the question we ask every week, Terry. But we lose this game, where do we find ourselves in the European push?
Very, very far away. It's not the end of the road, because you don't know what's going to happen in other games, but running out of chances now. Need to start winning games. If we lose this game, we'll go 9th, I think. I know Leeds got a point, but I'm not sure we'd go 10th. So we'd go 9th, and then the season's just fizzling out completely then. And, you're relying on everyone else to drop points. Whereas currently, Europe's still technically in our hands because of the game in hand with Villa. But it's got to stay in your hand. You can't, and it's not like we're playing Man City. It's not like we're playing, Liverpool. Arsenal they're not a good team. I think we're better than them, apart from the odd position. I think we're a better team than them, so we need to prove that and beat them. It's been too long since we won down there anyway, so we need to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned the game in hand there. We don't even know what we're like against Villa. Obviously, we haven't played them yet this season. We've still got to play them twice, and the weird thing is, we win this game, we go on to 52 points, 3 behind West Ham. We then play West Ham. So that's the magic of the league at the moment, is every week we're saying we need these must-win games, and then every week we're handed another opportunity. But, at the end of the day, it's going to get to a point where we run out of those opportunities, and you have to start taking them. You can't always rely on, as you mentioned, other teams dropping points. And we pick up a win here, then we play against Villa at home, West Ham away, 2 massive games there in terms of push for Europe. And I mean, the other Villa game hasn't even been rescheduled yet, so it's a weird one. And then Sheffield United is 3 points, and another 3 points we should be picking up. Wolves is an interesting one. I mean, they've been pretty poor all season, and I expect them to beat them. And then you're left with Man City at the end of the season, so it's quite significant that we pick up points before then, because we don't want to be going into the last day of the season relying on a good result against Manchester City. I mean, generally, in terms of results, we've struggled against them. It wasn't a bad performance in the league, in the cup, of course. But we haven't been picking up the results against them, and we, as you mentioned, we can't keep relying on other teams dropping points. But as things stand, we do still have a chance to keep it in our hands. We'll go 1 point behind Liverpool if we win this game, and then with that Leeds last minute equaliser, and then the game against Villa whenever it is played. So, and of course tonight, at the time recording, Chelsea playing Brighton. So we don't even know going into each game where we're going to stand. And I mean, that's also the same for injuries. Of course, going into the Brighton game, we all thought we had a fairly fit squad. Let's hope that doesn't happen again. But that's pretty much all I've got to say about the game. It's a result we should be getting, despite the fact that it is Arsenal. Regardless, they've been poor all season. It's embarrassing that we found ourselves only 3 points ahead at this point of the season. And as you mentioned, we lose this game, we go into 9th. Doesn't really look like we've achieved a whole lot this season, despite the fact that we have had very good runs of form. But we need to get out of this bad run of form, and at the end of the day, it has to be now. So, Terry, have you got anything else to add before the end of the video?
No, just football without fans is nothing, and it'll always be the case.
Absolutely well said. So thank you all very much for watching. Be sure to let us know your comments down below. Tricky time to watch the Premier League now, but at the end of the day, the goal still remains the same. Get points on the board, see where we find ourselves next season. So thank you all very much for watching, and join us next time on the Toffee Blues.